G'day guys, thanks for joining me again today. So this is a super simple layout. I was just mucking around and playing and having some fun. So I pulled out my CM punches, Creative Memories punches, and the Love Heart ones, and I just went to town on my baby mini paper stack. Now I used the same papers in a couple of videos back. This one is just a it's a Kmart 6x6 paper pad. It's like $4. So it's super dirt cheap. It's paper, it's not cardstock, but you know what, for this purpose it worked perfectly, not a problem whatsoever. So I went to town and I was punching out a heap of hearts. To be fair, I actually had no plan today. I normally always wake up at ridiculous times of the day in the morning and I have an idea in my head of what I want to do. And for some reason, I got to Monday morning and I had crafter's block and I had nothing in my head. Well, it wasn't, I can't call it a block. I just didn't have an idea in my head. Anyway, so I went through my usual processes of filling out my diary for the week, allocating where I've got time to scrap, where I don't have time, appointments, all that sort of fun stuff. And I found myself just punching out some shapes. And I thought, you know what? I haven't done anything with hearts for a while. So, and I'm obsessed. Oh God, I hate that word. Please forgive me for using it. I hate the O word, okay? The O word drives me crackers because we go through different stages. It doesn't mean that you are obsessed with something. At the moment, I'm going through a stage where I really like depending on the photos, but I like the sort of starburst, if you could see me at the moment, I'm literally like throwing my arms out, okay, if you're a mum, you will know what I'm talking about. You know when you pick up your baby and they're a little bit older, they're not newborn, and you sort of give them a light sort of toss in the air. You don't chuck them in the air, but you sort of, and the little arms go out. That's what this photo reminded me of, because in this photo, my middle child, who clearly is a lot older than this now, but she was at that point where she was taking steps, she was walking, she looked way too small to be walking, and she was. But honestly, when I looked at this picture, that's what it reminded me of. I thought, it just reminds me of when we used to sort of grab her and she'd throw her arms, but she loved it. She was a little daredevil. She was a shocker. So I thought, you know what? If you're in the phase and you're going through the phase and you want to stay in that phase, what's wrong with that? So I didn't really have a plan. All I thought of was maybe if I draw a bit of a starburst, put my picture in the middle and pencil out where my picture's going to be. Now, there's nothing on this. This is just American Crafts textured white cardstock. That's all this is, right? So I put down a few lines and I thought, yeah, that looks okay. And then I thought I'll do the hearts and I'll gradually make them smaller because I cut them out in 4 different sizes. So I was sort of doing this and then I realized I think it looked too linear. I could have left it like that, okay? Looking at it now, I could have left it that way. But I had punched out all these other hearts. What was I going to do with them? So I added more lines. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. Add some more lines. Now, the catch is I didn't want to move where I had put these because I'm videoing it for you guys. Now, normally if I was doing this at home and I was just, well, I am at home, but if I was doing this and I was wasn't recording this, I would have just swooped them to the side and started again kind of thing. But because I'm recording it, that just looks really messy. So I figured what I would do is leave them on there and continue to build my starburst, I suppose you'd call it. So my heartburst, yeah, let's call it that. It's a heartburst. So basically, I go through the process. Now I have sped this up a little bit, but not nearly as much. I've actually learnt on the program that I'm using. I've actually learnt that I don't have to speed it up 4 times or 8 times. I can actually go in between, which is what I was hoping I could do. Because 4 times, because I like to leave all of my process in, because if you want to copy this and you sort of start to do it at home and then think, it doesn't look right, you want to be able to go back and you want it to be slow enough that you can actually see that I had the same problem, but how did I overcome it? That pretty much is why I leave the whole process in there. Now, what I'm doing is at this point, I'm realizing it's a bit squishy. And then at this point, I hadn't registered. You've got a photo. So that's going to cover up a fair bit of the centerpiece. So I don't know why I'm insisting on getting it to go in so far. I wanted the hearts to be coming out from behind the photo, and that is what ends up happening. But I just had to sort of play to work out, basically to get the, see, when I brought the photo back, that's when I realized, you don't need to bring it in that small. So I just added some other smaller hearts just to cover it up. So when I put it on there, and I did photo mat that photo as well. I left the white border that was printed on it. Now, excuse how I'm doing this first row. This was me just getting a feel for how to get it on there perfectly straight. This morning when I was doing this, it was a little bit cool. So my art glitter glue, she likes to set pretty quick when it's cool. I now understand why they don't post it. See, so once I've done one, I realized how I could line it up and it was going to work. So the only thing that I would tell you not to do that I did do here is see how when I put the heart down, I sort of press it in the center. Don't do that. Just if you're using a strong glue like the art glitter glue or what else? The Nuvo Deluxe, that would do exactly the same thing. It grabs really, really tightly, so really quickly, and it's got a strong hold, so you don't need to push it down. The problem I ended up with at the end of the video, you'll see that I sort of struggled to lift the sides up. In my head, I had it to the point that it was kind of like a butterfly. Do you know what I mean? And because I did it this way, normally with my butterflies, and if you've seen any of my other videos, I fold the sides up, the wings up, before I glue it down, and that works so much better. So in hindsight, we all have hindsight, am I right? So at this point, it looks like it comes together and it looks really effective. And remember, this is a baby layout. This is, this is one for my daughter's album, and I think she was about 9 months old in this photo. So yeah, trust me, she walked really early. She was a micro machine. She was literally, she came out of hospital wearing Cabbage Patch Kid clothes. That's how tiny she was. Absolutely adorable. And she took forever to grow. She was just this tiny little, once she started walking, you had to really watch where you were going because she was right there behind you and she was barely at my knee. So I know, and I'd already had a child, so I knew that this was a micro machine of a child. But boy, oh boy, when she got going, she got going. So where I'm rubbing out there, if you see me at the very beginning of the line, I'm erasing it because the very first one, I didn't do it. You can see it over to the left-hand side there. And I put the glue on top of it, so you can't rub it out. But it's okay. It's not a problem. I actually I grabbed my ink eraser, and it just took the glue off just enough that it took the pencil off. So it was fine. But silly me. See, there's today's, maybe I should start a series. How many boo-boos can I chuck in with any one video? What do you reckon? I reckon I can honestly say, if I'm being completely 100% honest and transparent, there has to be at least one mistake on the layout, or I didn't do it. It's got to be that way. Okay, so it's at this point that I went to my sewing machine, which is not on camera because it's behind me, and I ran a line of stitching straight through the center of all the hearts. So this is just me. I sped this right up because you can see what I'm doing. I'm just putting washi tape behind the stitching. Because this goes in my album, it doesn't matter what it looks like on the back. And I really was not worried at all about the centerpiece, because that's going under the photo as well. So I joined up Creative Memories again yesterday, purely to buy more albums. But I tell you what, I'm going to buy me another one of those multi-purpose, multi-pickup, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. But I tell you what, I need to get another one because I absolutely love this thing. And this one is dead. I've used it to death. And yes, I've used it on things that I shouldn't have used it on. And yes, it has got a layer of art glitter glue on it, and it is not coming off. I've actually, this is hilarious, but I've actually sanded it off with an emery board before and kept going. So these things are really, really, they are the best tools. I absolutely love them. And mine has been painted, sprayed, spray painted, glued. I actually think at one point I had glued it to my Teflon mat. It wasn't my Teflon one, it was the one before that was like plastic. I actually glued this multi-purpose tool to it. As I waffle on this fine Monday night before I go on. Okay, all right, so let me see. So what I'm doing here, I'm just folding up all the hearts. See how it's not giving me quite so much like a butterfly, but as much as I looked at that as a mistake, I actually like it. So this is what I was showing you there, and I'll have it written in the description below. I bought from Crafts Online here in Australia. I actually bought this. It's brushed metal. That's what it looks like. It's cardstock, but it looks like brushed metal. So there's gold, silver, and bronze in the packet, and it's quite a heavy cardstock. And I honestly don't even know if they still have it, but I bought it, and I thought that's perfect because there's little bits of silver, moons and stars and stuff in the love hearts. So I wanted to add more silver to it because normally I do gold, or gold is usually my go-to metallic that I like. So I thought, you know what? I'm loving the starburst thing. I'm loving it. So I'm going to add some silver in between all these hearts because I was looking at it thinking, it needs a little bit more. And then I did this and I went, yeah, you know what? That's exactly what it needs. That's what it needs. So bear with me while I run my way through this. Now, what I did do was I put all the silver tips, I cut to a point. So that emphasizes that it's a point. I absolutely love doing these starburst, like, it's not every photo that makes me feel like that, but there's some photos that are just like, wow photos. And when I feel that with a photo, that's when I want to do this. So this is my heart. Just honestly, whenever I look at this photo, it just makes my heart beat out of my chest. It's got my dad in one corner, my husband holding my daughter, and it was just everything that I just love in one photo. So it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I loved it. So I was really, really happy with how this was coming out, and it's so simple. It is so simple. And this is something that I want to do as well. I want to try and make sure that as much as I do complicated pages and complicated double page layouts, all that sort of bizzo, I'm very, very mindful that I have some people that they're not creatively minded that way, and they need me to peel it back a little bit. Just peel it back. And the one thing that I pride myself on with this channel, and the reason I do this channel, is because I want people to learn how to do it in a without being condescending about it. You know, everyone has to start somewhere. And sometimes as creators, content creators, or craft creators, scrapbookers, sometimes we sort of sit back and go, oh, hang on, I'll come back to that. I have to show you. If you have issues with static with your embossing powders, buy coffee filters. I bought some, and game changer. So good. So what I'm actually, doesn't that look so good in fast forward? Wow. So what I actually had done here is, this happy day is out of the Thickers Adventure section, adventure package, but the letters were all black. I didn't want black in the middle of that layout. That's never going to work. So what I did is I just heat embossed them and made them silver. So they sit up high. So I'm still getting the thicker. I'm still using the words, but they're the color I want. So it worked out perfectly. And it embossed beautifully, and I can't believe I got those on there straight perfectly first go, which in itself is a miracle, let's be honest. And so then I just cut it out, and I thought, it needs a bit of silver around it. So I added that as well. So what I was saying is, sometimes we have to peel ourselves back a little bit as creators, and we have to give some simple lessons that are easy to learn, easy to copy. As I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it again and again and again, anything you see on my page, go for it. You can copy it piece by piece if you want to. You can copy just a tiny piece of it. You might take away and go, thickers. I would never have thought to use embossing powder on thickers. I would have thought that would have wrecked them. It doesn't. Trust me. It's fine. I've done it with mine first to save you money and to prove that it works, so that you're not wrecking anything. So what I'm using here are my El Cheapo. I picked them up from a $2 shop. They're pearls. So they look like a enamel dot, but they're pearls. So I'm just adding some of those. This is where I started to sort of bling out. When I'm decorating my page, so the whole page is a decoration, obviously, but I don't like tucking. I'm not much for tucking in flowers and all that sort of. I do it if that's what the intention is for the page. But when I get to something like this, I just use enamel dots, or the Ranger silver glitter stickles. I use that. I use my embossing. Okay, here's mistake number 2. So I went through and I put silver metallic Posca pen all the way around. I went the whole way around. And guess what? You can't see it. So then I changed my mind and I went, you know what? Let's use stickles and see what that does. And that gave me the effect I was after. So that is what I did. That is my layout. It has got so much texture, But that being said, while it's out of the album, it's got heaps of texture. But when it does go into my album, you'll be able to put the plastic sleeve over the top of it and it will not be a drama. It will sit flat enough and it will look just as pretty flat as what it will while it's lifted up like this. So it was at that point I realized that the pen was doing nothing. So then I went with the stickles. Bam! Check it out. Way better. So that is my page. I hope you have enjoyed it. I will have a list of everything that I used listed down below, including my social media handles. So you can jump on my Facebook group, and that's where I share my photos, a lot more photos up close, because I know when I was learning, and still to this day, when I learn, I like to look at a still photo and I can actually look at it and work out exactly how it was done. That's why in my group, and I encourage you to add your stuff into the group as well, but be aware that I do tell everybody that anything on my YouTube or anything on my social media is able to be duplicated with no repercussions. So feel free to do that. And this is a close-up of my awesome page that I absolutely love, that I'm trying very hard not to put my fingers in the wet stickles because that will wreck it, and I successfully did not put my fingers in it. So see, there's heaps and heaps of texture and the happy day looks amazing. I absolutely love it. So if you aren't already a subscriber, I would love to have you jump on board and like and subscribe to my channel. That helps my little tiny channel be seen by more people, and it just helps it get out there, and you never know, you might convert someone to scrapbooking. Thanks guys, chat soon, bye.